Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. And welcome to It's Just Plain Cyber. I'm your host, Terry, and my co-host, Steve. Say hello, Steve.
How you doing, guys? You okay?
Good. This is our first podcast, our first episode. I hope you enjoy the rest of the episodes, and you take a lot of information and understand the passion that me and Steve have.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Terry and I have been talking for a little while about putting this together. I think the format sounds like it should be something that's pretty open to everybody. I guess the first and foremost thing is probably explain who we are. Terry, you kind of kick things off, so I'll let you explain to everybody who you are, and then once you've done that, I'll give everyone a little bit of background on myself as well.
Yeah. Okay. So I've been in IT and information security or cybersecurity. We'll explain the difference between cybersecurity and information security in a future episode. But I've been in IT for, coming up to 16, 17 years first. And then I moved into information security. The reason I moved into information security was because I was sick and tired of working 24/7 on call, having no weekends, having a young family, and not being able to see them. So I moved into security, and I've been in security about 18 years, something like that, 18, 19 years. And me and Steve first met when Steve contacted me about a job, and we built up a good relationship then. We've been friends for the last, 2 or 3 years, Steve, would you say?
It's been a little while now. It has.
We had a look back. We had a look back and seen how long it was, and it was a long time. So that's a bit about myself. I'm now in a position of group head of information security for a pharmaceutical company. But that's a little bit about me. And again, I'll introduce you to myself a little bit more as we go along in future episodes. But over to you, Steve.
Yeah, sure. I think as you alluded to there, I do for my sins work in recruitment. Did it? Of course, my phone would ring.
Yeah, of course. It's very important.
Oh,
That's somebody who wants a job, Steve.
Well, there we go. That couldn't have been timed any better, could it? We'll leave that in the edit actually. But as Terry alluded to there, it would have been a number of years ago now. Actually, I contacted Terry about a position because he was on the market. Kind of kept in contact ever since then. Him and I had a couple of chats recently. I saw that he was looking to launch a podcast. I'd previously done a bunch of webinars. I was looking to get back into that because I love talking to people, letting people talk and learning, and also putting things out on the internet, because I used to previously be on the radio. I've done various things around social media, stuff like that. So I just enjoy that side of things. Now working as a senior consultant for a company called Via Resource, focusing very much in the GRC spectrum. But yeah, essentially the idea, I don't know if you want to take this bit or not, Terry, it's around the idea behind the podcast was to keep it as light as possible, but I'll let you kind of give the color around that, if that makes sense.
Yes. So I've been listening to lots of podcasts around cybersecurity and information security, and some of them are really, really interesting and go into a lot of detail. But I found out that there was not many out there that your average person could quite easily listen to and pick up really, really valuable information around the security world. So we're talking about what to look out for in emails, what's the latest thing going on in the world. So we wanted to try and I wanted to try and bring a podcast together where it was easy for everyone to follow and not some dry and boring security stuff, because security can be boring. And it can make you fall asleep, but we don't want people to fall asleep listening to this. We want people to be involved in it. So that was the meaning behind it. We want to make it light and easy. And I explained to Steve when I spoke to him quite a few weeks ago, I wanted it to be like you're either sitting around the table at home and you're just shooting the breeze, or you've gone to the pub with your mates and you just want to talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. Which kind of brings us on to the name of the podcast. I don't think it was mentioned, was it? It's calling it It's Just Plain Cyber, with the caveat that it's not just for geeks, right?
It's for Doris, who owns the flower shop down the end of the street. That's it. So it's for everyone. But I always say, Steve, I'll ask you a question. What appealed to you when you seen me post this on LinkedIn about starting a podcast?
Well, there was a couple of things, to be fair. One, I like talk. My job, by its very nature, does generally focus around talking to people. But I have spent a lot of my time learning as much as possibly can around things like this, particularly around the sort of day-to-day aspects of it that can affect you, which are conversations you and I have discussed leading up to this episode, which we will obviously venture into either later in this episode or on further ones. Also, the fact that I was looking to launch another webinar series, if you like, but podcasts seem to be where it's at the moment in terms of it doesn't give people the necessity to tune in at a certain time. They can kind of listen to it at their leisure. But yeah, the more you and I spoke, it was more about creating the real world scenarios around things, because ultimately these are things that affect everybody.
Yeah,
and it's also very much taking that low level information, the technical information that can seem super confusing to people, the layman like myself, and then explaining how that can relate to them in real world life, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right.
And what made, I mean, just to flip the script on yourself.
Oh no, you're not supposed to be doing this. It's supposed to be just me interviewing you.
What made you decide to go, do you know what? I haven't got enough to do as a head of information security. I'm
Yeah.
going to go out there and launch a podcast as well.
Don't tell my director this. Yeah, it's I'm excited about security, and I'm very passionate about it. I've often used my lovely partner and my children as guinea pigs, just to learn to see how much they know, and it gives me a good insight to how much people know and how much people don't know.
Mhm.
And I wanted to bring together this big vast world of cybersecurity, and we will talk about the careers in cybersecurity as we go along in future episodes. But people just think it's these kids that sit in their basement making code and causing problems for business. But cybersecurity and information security is a big world, and it's not just your kids that sit in the basement on their computers. And we want to get this across to people. One of the areas we'll look at in our future episodes is this big problem called GDPR. Now, every
Yes.
company, every company talks about GDPR, and it literally is somebody telling you what you can and can't do. Now, I could sit here for hours and talk to you about GDPR, but it's boring. It's a dry subject. What I wanted to do, and I've spoke to Steve about this, is I want to look at different parts of GDPR and make it relevant for the real life.
Yeah.
So just to give you a little example, I spoke to Steve a couple of weeks ago about profiling.
Yeah.
Profiling. Yeah. I'm part of one of the articles in GDPR includes about profiling, and it's quite interesting to understand how profiling works. And when you relate it to something that everybody's applied for a bank account, everybody's applied for a mortgage, and profiling is heavily involved in that. So when we look at GDPR, we'll make it relevant. So you, Steve, you can understand GDPR, and anybody in the street can understand GDPR. So these are the kind of subject. We've got loads of things to talk about. And Steve will most likely tell you a couple of areas that we're going to cover as we further go along in future episodes.
Yeah, no, exactly. And you know what? It's funny that we've had this conversation many times in terms of making it as sort of down to earth as possible. I literally went to the shop today to get some lunch, and one of my neighbours asked me what I did for a job. I said, well, I work in cybersecurity recruitment. He said, cybersecurity, what's that? Is that all the hackers and stuff? And I was like, I just said yes, because I didn't have an hour to explain to him that it's not just that, but this is exactly why we're doing these, because people hear the word cybersecurity or information security, which again is another topic we will discuss, the difference between the two, and how there is a disconnect between the real world and what you see online, and the, you know, and I have these conversations with my dad all the time as well. Don't click on this link, or my nieces, my sister, everybody. Or, you know, there's so many real world examples of where it's very easy to read a news article about, let's say, the MGM hacking the
Yeah.
other week. They got, you know, it was a ransomware attack, etc., etc. Lots of ransomware. You know, do you know what I mean? Like but that all came from accessing a public log. Like, you know, that came from a very, very low, well, yeah, whether you call it low level or high level, a very public access point, which could have been prevented. And that's obviously that's a really high profile example of it. But this is pretty much what I want to talk about. But also at the same time, we want to keep it as light as possible. We're not trying to bore anybody. I want to try and add some humor. I'm sure everybody will get to learn a bit about my personality and Terry's personality as we go along. And I'm sure we'll add some jokes in there. And then ultimately, we're going to get some other people to come in and have a conversation as well. You know, maybe talk about things like firewalls. Firewalls, again, a firewall is a word that every person that owns a laptop or a PC or an Apple Mac or anything has heard the word firewall.
Yeah.
Probably don't
Well,
know what it does.
Yeah, we won't go into too much detail in explaining people what a firewall is, because that is quite technical.
Okay.
So we want to keep it quite light. And if you don't understand it, Steve, then it's pointless just going out,
Sure.
because you're the biggest guinea pig we have. So that's it. So
I'm happy to be a
will
guinea
use
pig.
you.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. We'll also talk about data protection as well, and Steve will also talk about careers and the different areas of cybersecurity or information security you can go into. We'll tell you some of our funny stories we've experienced through our many years of in our job roles.
Yeah.
We might have a section in there where we can get listeners to ask us questions, and we can look at them questions later on in a future episode.
Yeah,
We want this to be us talking, but also heavily involved with you guys out there in the big wide world.
For sure. And also, Terry and I don't live a million miles away from each other. We're both in the Midlands for our sins, aren't we?
Yeah. Only via job choice.
I just can't afford to live in London, mate. That's all it is. But you know, there's nothing to say that if this does start to pick up a little bit of momentum, we wouldn't start to do these things in person again.
Yeah,
it's meant to be like a pub chat. We can meet up in a pub, and all of it. And you know, the more heads, the merrier. We can have these conversations. It's meant to be interesting stuff that everybody can relate to.
Yeah, and as you said there, we will bring in people who know more about certain areas of security than we do. We'll also bring in people like ourselves that just have an interest in it and just see what their view on cybersecurity is, or information security, to make it really light. I'm looking forward to this. It's going to be a great adventure. We want to get you guys involved as much as we can.
No, for sure. I think, particularly the topics. I mean, I'm very active on social media. Terry, you're relatively active on social media. We'll be putting stuff out there. If there are topics that people are interested in, whether you are somebody who works in a totally different field that has an interest in getting into information and cybersecurity, whether you're somebody that's a level 1 security analyst, whether you're somebody that's a lead security engineer that wants to learn more about the less technical side of things, we're going to try and keep it as light as possible. But the more topics that people give us to talk about, the more information we've got, and I'm sure there's a lot of people we can pull information from and opinions from that we can try and create real world scenarios out of. So the more interaction we get from other people, the better.
Yeah, no, totally agree. So we hope that you guys will enjoy it as much as us.
Yeah,
because it is just a bit light-hearted. We'll try and cover as many topics as we can, and we'll take it from there, and we'll see how we go. Go on, Steve. I'm sorry.
No, I'll let you finish, mate. I was just going to say, I appreciate anyone that's listening, and I figure this is probably, we were going to use this one as an introductory episode, so kind of gives an idea of what we're going to be covering, gives people time to come back to us.
So how long are these episodes going to be then, Steve? What did we agree on?
I think about 25-30 minutes, wasn't it?
Yeah, because people get bored after that.
No, they do. I'm a stickler for podcasts, but even the longer ones, I split them up through days, because everyone's attention span is quite short. So this is, 25, 30 minutes, whether that's travel to work in the morning, travel home, could be a lunch break. You might be fortunate enough to live at home and just, to live at home.
Well, no, to live at home, Steve. Everybody lives at home.
Work from home. Work from home. Work from home. Yeah, and just the idea is to keep it short but sweet, light-hearted, and something you'll be able to take in and hopefully take something from.
Yeah. Every episode we release will also have a title in there to what it's covering. So if it's something that you're interested in, then it's there for you. And we're trying it. We were going to start at trying to do this at least once a month, because we wanted the information in these 25-30 minutes podcast to be valuable and not just mundane, same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
So that's the plan going forward.
Yeah, exactly that. I guess that about wraps things up for this one.
Yeah. As we've not done any data sensitive information, we'll leave the disclaimer till the first episode.
Our views are our own.
Our views are our own. Even though stupid they may be.
No, exactly, mate. Yeah, no, this is no, it's been enjoyable. We'll I'm looking forward to it.
Brilliant. Right, okay, let's sign off for this first episode and this first introduction. And I hope you join us in our next one. Thanks very much, guys.
See you later. Bye-bye.